Hanging wallpaper is a great way to add some personality to a room, and you can do it yourself. The key is to plan and prep like a professional, and we'll show you how. Then after you've prepped your walls, watch how to hang wallpaper to learn how to finish the job. All right? Let's get started. We're in the process of renovating this room, so we remove the old wallpaper. And to see that step, watch how to remove wallpaper at Lowe's.com/videos. Now we're ready to measure and prep for the new paper. So let's start with the measuring. Now you want to know the total linear footage of the walls to be covered. This bedroom is 15 by 14. We're only covering 2 walls, but if you were doing the whole room, that would be 2 15-foot walls and 2 14-foot walls for a total of 58 linear feet. You'd multiply this by your ceiling height to get the total square footage of the walls. Now if you have vaulted ceilings, use the highest point or an average height. And by the way, don't bother subtracting for doors and windows. It doesn't make any difference when it comes to the amount of wall covering needed. Take a close look at the paper you're going to hang. Now some patterns like florals require matching, so it will require more paper to do the job. Now wallpaper manufacturers do try to minimize this waste and they create their roll sizes accordingly. But check the back of the wallpaper sample book or the website for what's listed as the pattern repeat and get the usable square footage per roll. And when you buy your paper, make sure all the rolls have the same lot number. Divide the square footage of the wall space by the usable square footage of the paper and round up. This is the number of rolls you'll need. And for more information on this step, check the printable instructions at Lowe's.com/videos. When hanging wallpaper, having a smooth surface as a base is important. So you'll need to repair any cracks or fill in any holes. And to do that, you'll need spackling, a putty knife, some fine grit sandpaper, safety glasses, and a dust mask. Using a putty knife, fill minor trouble spots with spackling, spreading it slightly past the edges. Now some jobs may need more than one application of spackling. Once it's dry, sand it smooth with fine grit sandpaper. Now if your walls need a little more extensive repair, watch our video on repairing drywall at Lowe's.com/videos. Once the walls have been repaired, it's time to prime them. Now you may have heard this called sizing. For this you'll need a good wall covering primer sealer, which is very different than a paint primer. It allows for easy removal without damaging the drywall. Trust me, this is critical to avoid any major repairs to your drywall later. For this step you'll need wall covering primer sealer, canvas and plastic drop cloths, a bucket and sponges, dish soap, a screwdriver, tape measure, pencil, low-tack painter's tape, a paintbrush, scissors, a paint roller, cover and tray, and a step stool or a ladder. You also want to equip yourself with the necessary safety gear. Now before we took down the old wallpaper, we prepped our walls. But if you haven't, now's the time to remove all outlet and switch plates and cover with tape. Move any furniture and cover with plastic drop cloths. Use canvas drop cloths on the floor since plastic can get pretty slippery. Then tape off the trim and the ceiling. Next, wash your walls with a mild soap and water solution. Rinse with clean hot water, but don't drench the walls. And allow it to dry, typically overnight. Now apply the wallpaper primer sealer, just like you would paint. Just roll it onto the surface. You want to cover the walls with a good even coat and let it dry according to the manufacturer's instructions. All right, next, it's time to map out a plan for hanging the paper. Now consider the aesthetics of the room when you're planning this. This includes 3 steps: your starting place, seam placement, and visualizing. If you're papering an entire room, remember that wherever you start papering is where you'll end up. So you want that to be in the least conspicuous spot in the room, like behind a door or in a corner. Now, since we're only doing 2 walls, we're just going to start in this corner and work to the right. All right, next, look at any other obstacles you may need to paper around, like windows or doors, and plan your seam placement. You see, you want to avoid ending up with seams right near the edge of a window or a corner, which would force you to cut the paper into a narrow strip. You see, when you have narrow strips, the paper is more likely to tear. To avoid this, measure the width of your paper. Then use your tape measure and mark where the seams will be. Be sure to use a pencil because ink can bleed through the paper. Now, if any of your seams end up too close to a door or a window edge, You can avoid that narrow strip by just moving your starting line over. This little trick can save you headaches down the road and make hanging the wallpaper a lot easier. Now it's time for our final planning step, visualizing. If your paper has a design, match up the paper from roll to roll and think about where you want the pattern to butt up against the ceiling. Now most papers with a random pattern should be reverse hung, meaning you'll reverse the direction that you hang each piece of paper. That way subtle shade variations aren't as noticeable. So with our walls prepped and our plan in place, it's time to start hanging some paper. For complete step-by-step instructions and to see this bedroom get its new look, check out How to Hang Wallpaper at Lowe's.com/videos.